Hello and welcome to the United Stand. Paul Pogba versus Ander Herrera. Who is the most important player for Manchester United at the moment? I'm joined by Ross, who I will go to in a moment. I need to get the live comments up as well. But this is a debate. It is a new show for the United Stand. It is a fan debate. We will present our case to you, and at the end of the show, you will get to vote. If you notice in the top right-hand corner, you'll see a little I. That is a fan poll that you can vote Herrera or Pogba, and we'll be monitoring that throughout the show to see who's doing well. But let us state our case. In a moment, Paul, I always call him Paul, deduct a point already. Ross will have a minute to start his case. When his minute finishes, I'll have a minute to start mine. And then when I finish, Ross will go back again with a minute, coming back at some of the stuff I've said. We get 5 minutes each. We'll also be monitoring the live comments to see what you've lot got to say, to see if there's a few little pearlers in there that will help our case go. However, we are up, we are running. The live comments are up and they are running. And we will be taking your comments into account for that as well. So without further ado, Paul Pogba, who is the most important player for Manchester United at this moment in time? Ross, nearly called you Paul. Your minute starts now.
Do you know what? I think I've obviously selected Pogba, and I think it's hands down Paul Pogba at the minute, and going forward it always will be. And you could base that on many things, but the one that I'm going to base most of this debate around is the fact that I think that he's irreplaceable in this Manchester United team, and I think Herrera is replaceable. I think we can go into the transfer market and buy a like for like and a Herrera for about £30 million. You're not going to get Pogba for that. I don't think is anyone in world football like Paul Pogba at the minute. I think he's a physical beast. His ball control is, and let's face facts. He should have had a lot more goals and assists this season if he didn't hit the crossbar and Zlatan finished, a lot of the opportunities that he set him up. So based on that, I think it's hands down Paul Pogba. And you've also got the marketing abilities of Paul Pogba as well. And I think, he gets a lot of criticism for that, but you can't take that away from him because he brings a lot of money into Manchester United, and
Paul
I can guarantee
Pogba is a fantastic player. He's absolutely fantastic, but we are talking who is the most important player for Manchester United at the moment. And I don't wish injury or suspension on anybody, but if we had that nightmare scenario where Herrera or Pogba, one of them you've got to choose to be without for 4 or 5 games. At the moment, it's got to be Ander Herrera. You look at, we're living in the now, not the future. Paul Pogba, fantastic player, broke the world record for him. He is going to be absolutely superb. But you look at it on this season, it's like a graph. It's up and down, it's up and down. Herrera, especially over the last couple of months, has been so consistent. He gets what Manchester United's all about. He's our leader on the pitch. He's so consistent, like I say. He drives the midfield. He's one of them players who has been messed around, and yet he still fights back. He's been on the bench, he's been misused by Van Gaal. He wasn't in the team at the start of the season, but now he's in that category of Pogba and Zlatan where he doesn't get subbed. He's really important to Mourinho. I've got a few more things to say, but my minute's up, so it's back to Paul. I'll see you in a minute. Ross.
But you say that. I think Herrera's job at Manchester United in the team is very important. It's to intercept balls. I think Pogba has been given a very different role to that for a reason because he's technically better in all sense than Ander Herrera. I think Pogba, if he wanted to sort of demean himself a little bit, could do Herrera's job. He can run around like a nut job intercepting passes. But the fact is, he's better than that. And I think that role for Manchester United is that box-to-box midfielder, that creator, that playmaker, is what Manchester United have lacked over seasons. And I said it. I'll say it again. I think that we've got players that can do Herrera's job just as well as him. I think Fosu Mensah could play where Herrera is. No one can play where Paul Pogba is in our team, and we won't be able to buy anyone to play where Paul Pogba is in our team. So based on that, I just think that he's more versatile as well, and he brings the winning mentality as well. And that's not. We just won a cup, and
it's a fantastic discussion to be having. I'm certainly not saying I prefer Pogba over Herrera. This is who's most important if you've got to make that decision. And what a great decision it is to have at Manchester United. If you're Liverpool, you're deciding about Henderson or Milner. We're talking Herrera and Pogba, and I think both would be a massive loss. However, as I said, Herrera gets it. And at the moment, I just think about Pogba and I think, Maybe in the cup final, he didn't really turn up. Maybe at Liverpool at home, he didn't really turn up. The one thing about Herrera and the one thing about Manchester United at the moment, and we're dealing at the moment, we're not talking about in 2 years' time, we're not talking about transfer fees, we're talking about right now who is most important for Manchester United, and it is Ander Herrera, because we need that consistency. I keep coming back to it, that ability, that drive, that passion. That the fact that other clubs absolutely can't stand him is again a massive indication that he's a very, very important player for us.
Live comments keep telling me to talk about Fellaini, which I'm not. Do you know what?
Don't
You
waste
keep
your
saying
time.
Herrera's consistent. You know, I don't think Pogba had a bad game in that final. I think he was actually played really well. He was physically imposing. He just got caught in behind because I think that was a tactical reason. I don't blame that on Paul Pogba, the fact that he got caught in behind. And Herrera was supposed to be defensive midfielder, and you know the fact that they kept catching us out like that, I only blame Herrera. I think Pogba's had Pogba's been involved in a lot more winning scenarios this season than Ander Herrera. I know Ander Herrera intercepts the ball a lot, but let's not forget all these assists to Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Herrera did a great one on the weekend. I'll give you that. But Pogba's assists and Pogba's goals and his free kicks and his overall ability to create a chance out of absolute nothing. Herrera's nowhere near that. And he will never be anywhere near that. And Paul Pogba's playing at, I believe, 40% capacity out of his overall ability. And Herrera's playing at 100. There's so much more to come from Pogba. And I think he's already outplaying.
I agree. There is more to come from Pogba. But we're not dealing about the future. We're dealing about the now. Remember, top right-hand corner, info button there. Get voting. Who is getting your vote? And I bring it back. It's very simple. As of now, who would you, if you could only choose one because one gets suspended for punching Fellaini or something like that, who do you want in your team? And let me just start, because we've only got a couple more minutes left each here. In relation to Ander Herrera, I've done a lot of research about him, and I know we're an international channel. I know we're global, right? So for the Indian voters out there, Ander Herrera's great-great-granddad was Indian. American, his mother on his dad's brother's side is from America. He's a multinational Herrera. He appeals to everybody. But most importantly, why does my minute seem to go quicker? I've got something else I'm not going to get done in 10 seconds. But all I can say is Ander Herrera, all the way at the moment, is the most important player for Manchester United behind Zlatan and was man of the match at the weekend.
You can't play the Indian card on me, Mark. I mean, you know, talk about multicultural. I think Pogba's is of the Muslim faith, so you know he is as multicultural as you get.
Oh.
Religion now, mate, and he's the ultimate. He's not just a footballer; he's the ultimate brand and the ultimate professional. It's brand Beckham, it's brand Pogba, and I absolutely love that about him. And I hope if we lose Ander Herrera, we don't lose the money and the pool that he would bring in. If we lost Paul Pogba, it would be a financial catastrophe for Manchester United. And because of the marketability of him and the Adidas deal, and that plays a huge part, and it plays a huge part in future signings. You know, talk about who's important for United right now. Pogba's going to bring in Griezmann potentially, and Herrera's not bringing in Griezmann as far as I'm concerned. He's not coming because Herrera's here. So that's my opinion on that, to be honest.
I believe that it comes down to a very simple thing. I believe, and we are coming towards the end now, so get your votes in. I believe it comes down to what is important now. And I look at somebody like Herrera, and I look at this season, and I just think we need players who can consistently, and I've used that word a lot, play well. And he's been doing that, especially since Christmas. An absolute leader. He doesn't get subbed off anymore. His best mates matter. And I think both of them just replicate each other. They were both abused by Louis van Gaal. We used to say, where's Herrera? Save Herrera. And he wasn't getting games. At the start of the season, he wasn't getting games. But it's that determination, that passion, that love for Manchester United. He wasn't bought for 90 million. He's not getting Twitter emojis. He's not Mr. Adidas. He's not bigger than Manchester United. He is in awe of Manchester United, and he gives blood, sweat and tears for Manchester United. And for me, every day of the week at the moment, I would want Ander Herrera in the team over Pogba, because Pogba's not quite there yet, and he doesn't have that consistency that Herrera does have.
Talk about begging for votes. You've got name drop Matter in there as well. You know, Matter loves Pogba. Matter loves Pogba, I'm sure, as well. I mean, I honestly believe that Zlatan signed for us in the summer knowing that we were going to sign Paul Pogba or a player of that magnitude. And I think that's, again, I'm reiterating a point that I said earlier, but he's going to bring players in around him. He is such such a huge name, and Herrera hasn't got that. And then you talk about, like I say, the replaceability of a player. I think if we went out and brought Kante and sold Herrera tomorrow, you know, there shouldn't be a huge amount of difference in the way United play. Some people might tell you that we'd play better with Kante. If we sold, Paul Pogba and signed him for any player in the world in midfield, I believe we were going to be a worse off team. And for that reason, I think Pogba is irreplaceable. I'd argue Pogba for any United player, as well as Ander Herrera. So I just think he's absolutely priceless for United at the minute.
Right, your next minute will be your last minute to get your votes in, Ross. It's in the top right-hand corner. If you're on desktop, there's a little I button. You can vote. At the moment, it's 56% Herrera, 43% Pogba. So Ross has got to do a little bit back. But I'm a man of the people. I'm looking at the live comments. I'm confident Herrera's going to win this one. I think it's about who's the most important player at the moment. And Brad McNamee, I agree. I love Pogba. He's got higher potential. But at the moment, as Beck Howell says, Herrera gets 100% of the votes. Kessie, Herrera, Pogba next season, says Michael Brown. Both fantastic players, but we're talking about the now. Who would you miss? Who would you miss more? And I would argue with anybody that Herrera is consistently man of the match at the moment. He's always up there. Somebody takes it off him, like Zlatan at the weekend, but he's always consistently up there as your man of the match. Abdi Shire says Herrera. Gingshi says click on the top right of the screen, then click on the votes. But it's into Ross's last minute, and then it'll be mine straight after. Boom.
Guys, look, I know we all love Ander Herrera because he is Mr. Manchester United at the minute. But if we saw Pogba leave, it'd be absolutely devastating. And for that reason, live comments, hit the Pogba button. Don't let me down here. We do not want. I'm taking this as if we were to sell one player now, and if we sold Paul Pogba right now, it would be a laughing stock. It'd be a joke, and United would plummet, downhill, would go down the table. We wouldn't be where we are now. If we sold Herrera, I think we could replace him, and I think that's a big, key point to that. So we should be voting for Paul Pogba. It's not you're voting for me as well as voting for Pogba. Vote for me. Don't vote for Mark. Forget Ander Herrera because we don't want to see him win this poll.
Well, what I would say is, and Indie Tag has come out with it very well, Herrera is passionate, but Pogba is a hairdresser and a dancer. And there's too many fanboys of Pogba, says Chad Sproul. Pogba is better, says Jane Milner. And where shall I vote? It's in the top right-hand corner, there's an I. If you're not watching live, you can just comment below anyway. But the reality is, we're talking about Pogba. We're talking about selling Pogba. I'm not on about that. We're not Arsenal fans. I love them both. But it's about, these shows are about who's more important to Manchester United at the moment. Next week, we're going to do Rashford and Martial. But now we're doing Herrera and Pogba. And I think at the weekend, if one of them pulled a hamstring tomorrow, who would you want it to be? Because I wouldn't want either. But if I've got to choose between one or the other, I just think Pogba could go missing at home to Bournemouth. Will Herrera go missing? Of course he won't. He's Mr. Consistent. He's Mr. Passion. He's Mr. Blood, Sweat and Tears. And he's doing so many jobs. Mourinho puts him in the centre defensive midfielder and he does it. He puts him as box to box. He does it. He gets out on the right wing and he puts crosses in like he did on Sunday. He does the lot. Pogba, he's going to be fantastic. He's not quite there yet. I rest my case. I'll be baffled if Herrera doesn't win this. That's the end of that. That is the end of that. Right. We'll have a look at the comments in a minute. But for a new show, Ross, what were your thoughts? I mean, I'm confident. I think I've got this. I might be giving it a bit of the old Hillary Clinton spin, but I'm confident. I'm like the boxer walking around the ring thinking I've won it. I'm confident I've won this. I don't know how you're feeling.
No, I really enjoyed the show. It's good to debate on that because puts you in a position. I mean, I don't want to debate against Ander Herrera. Absolutely love the guy. Like you say, I don't want to see any of them sort of injured or not playing for United. But there was a comment that you read out saying there's too many Pogba fanboys. I am sorry, but I am one of them. Since the minute he signed, it got me in hysteria and hasn't worn off yet, I'm afraid.
No, you know what? It was Draw Team Me were talking about this today. There's no game this week, so we like to try and mix things up. Skype Goldbridge, by the way, was on Mark Goldbridge's channel last night if you missed it, because I did a little bit of Red Rumours. We brought that back. We've got a bit of spare time this week, and rather than just rolling the same old content out, we want to mix things up. And we thought, you know what? We're passionate about football. We all get on, but we do debate stuff on our little United Stand direct group. And it just gave us the idea to do this. And I agree with what Ross said there, that I love Pogba and I love Herrera, but we were talking today, we were talking about Martial and Rashford, and we were like, who's more important to Manchester United at the moment, and we will do that one. And you've got to be passionate about which side you're coming from. And I love Pogba and I love Herrera. But if that question's put in front of you, who is the most important player for Manchester United at the moment? Obviously, Ross says Pogba. I honestly do think Herrera, and we didn't flip a coin for it. You know, Ross went Pogba and I went Herrera, so we have given that honest opinion. So I really hope you've enjoyed the show. Drop a like if you like the idea. We will do other debates. We will be doing other debates on things, but it can't be Fellaini or Zlatan, because whoever gets Fellaini, unless it's Mad Marcus, is going to struggle. So we want close things. It doesn't have to be players. We know we can do other things. But we like the concept, and I hope you do. And I think the timer works well, having a minute each other, and then, you know, we open it up with a minute, and then we go back and forth to that last minute where it's basically presenting your case. So I've really enjoyed it. I'll just let you know, though, top right-hand corner is the eye. Click the eye in the top right-hand corner and cast your vote. And obviously people will watch this after we've finished going live, so the vote will be continuing anyway until the show tomorrow, and we'll announce the winner. But I can tell you, Herrera was winning by quite a bit. The last time I checked, it's 48% for Pogba, 51% for Herrera. I don't know where that little 1% has gone. Probably voting for Fellaini, who I didn't put up as an option. But Gungshi says, great idea, Mark. Yeah, I think it's a fantastic idea, and we're trying to come up with new ideas all the time. But one thing I would just say as well, Ross, is I don't think this is just about who's important to Manchester United now, because when you were talking about things in the future, I totally agree that Pogba probably in a year or two will be the best player in the country, and he will go beyond Herrera. I'm really just talking about right now, with all these games, who's more important. And for me, Pogba still has that little bit of inconsistency where he goes missing, whereas Herrera, I don't think he can hit the heights Pogba can. I don't, but I think he hits the consistency levels that he does. But what I was going to say is, we were talking about Rooney potentially going in the summer, and there's talk of him going, Koeman talking positively about him today. But who is the captain next year? Because I think you could have that debate about these two. Zlatan, no point giving him the captaincy because he's probably going to go either in the summer or a year later. Beyond those two, these two were debating. Is there anybody else for captain, and which two would you go? Which one would you go for again?
That's another debate in itself. I think you've hit the two spot on. I think it's Herrera. For me, it's Herrera and Pogba. I think it's Herrera because of the passion, and like you say, he absolutely gets Manchester United. And Pogba for the same reasons. You know, he's come back. He's come back home, and he is a leader out on the pitch. But they both are. And I personally think, you know, a captain should be a centre midfielder, because you are in the middle of everything. It's a great position to lead from. So I'd say out of them two, I wouldn't want to see it go to Chris Smalling. I just wouldn't. I said that on Sunday, and I'll stick by that.
My head went into my hands then. I was winning all through the debate, and I can tell you the updated score is 53% for Pogba, 46% for Herrera. Top right-hand corner, there's an eye. Click it and just click Herrera. You know, support me. I didn't go down that route, but support me. Don't support Paul. I did that one on purpose. Richie CR has contributed a couple of dollars through the channel. Obviously, you can contribute through Super Chat. I can announce to those who are watching now, because I don't, you know, the people who support the live content, you always get the little snippets. What we're going to do with the Super Chat contributions, if we get enough over the next few months, we are going to look to do what Ross was doing at the weekend, and maybe even get hold of a United Stand season ticket, so that somebody's at the ground every week, that when we're doing the watch along, we can go live to them on the phone, because I thought that worked really well. So if you are going to contribute to the United Stand through the Super Chat option, which you can do if you can see it, you know, you are helping the channel, but we've decided what we're going to do with that extra income, and we are going to use it to get tickets next season, and hopefully a few towards the end of this season. I think it's a really good idea to do that. But Richie CR, he contributed a couple of dollars, and his question is, Mark, will you do Fellaini or Lingard? Who is worse? I tell you what, I think that would be a good laugh. But let's get some of the good debates done first. We're going to do Martial Rashford next. Drawty was talking about, should we do Cantona v Zlatan? I think he's a bit naive with that. Cantona kicks Zlatan's arse. But we could do some old against new, but I think for the moment there's enough topical ones to do, and what a way to start with Pogba versus Herrera. I certainly really enjoyed the concept, and if you do, drop a like, because we're always looking to do new things. We did the quiz the other week. It didn't quite take off the way we wanted to do, but it's still there to come back to. But I really like this idea of doing it. And just quickly, Ross, you didn't answer the question. You dodged it. You do well at these shows, politician. If you had to pick a captain, Herrera or Pogba out of the two, which do you think's better suited for the future of Manchester United?
I would pick Ander Herrera, and one of the reasons is that he's slightly older. So if Pogba does stay the distance, he will get it eventually.
You see, I quite like the idea of giving it Pogba for the simple reason you've touched on there. If you give it to Pogba, it might be an incentive for him to stay and not sod off to Madrid in a couple of years' time. But yeah, and also I've got to be totally honest, and it's not hypocritical because we're talking about the now. And when I talk about who's the most important player for Manchester United now, that's what the Pogba v Herrera show was about tonight. It's about now. It's not in a couple of years. It's not really about who's the better player. It's about who's the better player, most important player for United now. And I have been quite consistent. And I'll be amazed if somebody doesn't pick me up on this and said that next year, if we want to win the Champions League and the league, I'm not totally convinced that Herrera fits into the midfield too. I think maybe Pogba and a destroyer does, but he's a massively important player. Darth Maul's contributed $5 and he says, who is the better manager, Klopp the Flop or Fraudiola? Whether we'd do that on the United Stand, I don't know, but I'd be quite happy to shove that over onto the Mark Goldbridge channel and do some non-United related stuff. But we've completed the show. It was quick, it was fast. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you're not watching live, remember you can vote in the top. In Ross's corner, there's an I button right in the top right-hand corner. Click that and cast your vote. I hope you've enjoyed it, Ross.
No, I really enjoyed it, Mark. Thanks for inviting me on, and thanks for the live comments again. They were funny as ever.
We will be back tomorrow night at 8:30, like I said. We did a Skype Goldbridge on my channel last night. For those who missed it, you can get involved in that. But just as we go off air, I can tell you that Pogba has 54% of the vote. Herrera has 45% of the vote. We will be doing this in the future. It will be me v Ross, so there's a point up for grabs who wins the show. Looks like at the moment I might be going down. So just vote Herrera, that's all I can say. Or Pogba if you're a fanboy. But get voting. It's not over yet. Just because he's won the live show score doesn't mean it'll be won when all those people who can't watch live get their vote in, because I know they love me. And
when do you take the final score, Mark?
We'll take the final score on the show tomorrow night at 8:30.
Nice.
Okay.
Cool. Get voting Pogba, everyone. Forget what he says.
I loved it. Brilliant show. Thanks. And thanks to Joy to Devil for sort of sparking the idea with me. And thanks for Ross coming on. I think it's a good show in the future. And I like a bit of a debate. And that's what it should be. We went head to head. And Ross will ultimately win the battle, but I will win the war. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you tomorrow at 8:30. And please do like and share if you like the concept. I think it's a great one.